Following the Cold War, defense theorists identified a revolution in military affairs. The prevailing belief was that superior information technology and satellite communications would grant them total operational dominance. The objective shifted from capturing physical territory to controlling the minds of the target audience, a theater they called the cognitive domain. The core doctrinal assumption of information age warfare was simple: if you control the data flow, you control the population's perception. Yet, on the ground, multi-billion-dollar coalitions found themselves outmaneuvered by insurgents using smuggled cell phones, distributing handwritten leaflets, and word of mouth. The world's most advanced technological forces were routinely beaten in the court of public opinion by adversaries operating with a fraction of the budget. The ability to transmit data globally does not equal the ability to persuade. True information dominance is not cognitive control. In places like Iraq, Afghanistan, and the Balkans, Western coalitions struggled to secure long-term local support. The operational space at the human level proved entirely resistant to standard public relations. The defense establishment diagnosed this failure by studying their enemies. They concluded that insurgents possessed a singular, highly compelling tool: a strategic narrative. Salafi jihadist movements successfully framed the conflict as an existists proposed engineering their own narratives. The logic dictated that if they could construct the right story, they could win the war of ideas. Treating a deeply rooted insurgent ideology as a branding problem that could be fixed with focus groups and talking points guaranteed a decade of absolute communication failures. To understand why this failed, we must look at the mechanics of persuasion. This model illustrates a standard argument, built on deductive logic from premise to evidence to conclusion. Because an argument lays out its logic explicitly, it naturally invites the audience to pause, evaluate the evidence, and push back. It triggers skepticism. True narrative persuasion works differently. By structuring information along a continuous timeline of a past, present, and future, a story creates a selective, coherent interpretation of reality. When an audience is immersed in the flow of a plot, their critical evaluation drops. They are transported along the curve, absorbing the subtext without pausing to debate the premises. Militaries made a critical error by adopting the term narrative to describe every press release, slogan, and daily operational update. This created the mission statement trap. Large coalitions like NATO needed to keep dozens of allied nations aligned, so they compressed complex geopolitical objectives into short, universally approved catchphrases. Stripping away the plot, characters, and temporality to fit a soundbite removes the very elements that make a story persuasive. It reverts the communication back to standard political spin. When you redefine narrative to mean everything an organization says, you neutralize the exact psychological mechanism required to bypass an audience's critical filter. This breakdown is especially evident when looking at psychological operations, or PSYOPs, during the interventions in the Balkans. In a conflict zone, the absolute prerequisite for any persuasive messaging is strict, undeniable alignment between what a military says and what a military does. During the 1999 Kosovo intervention, NATO dropped millions of leaflets on Yugoslav forces, threatening the imminent arrival of heavily armed Apache helicopters.
But the Apaches were never deployed. To minimize pilot casualties, the coalition restricted its combat operations to high-altitude bombing. This timeline charts the say-do gap, the exact distance between promised operational messaging and the physical reality on the ground. Target audiences immediately process this contradiction. They read leaflets promising precise targeting while experiencing the reality of high-altitude bombing. The moment that messaging and reality diverge, the credibility of the messenger drops to zero. A strategic narrative requires trust to function. When physical actions contradict the message, the narrative disintegrates on contact. To understand why adversary narratives are so resilient, we look to Jacques Ellul's concept of sociological propaganda. This cross-section illustrates the deep, heavy bedrock layers of a culture. These master narratives consist of historical myths, religious identities, and long-standing cultural grievances. They are the deeply embedded frameworks of beliefs that populations unknowingly use to understand their world. Against this, intervening militaries deploy short-term political propaganda, leaflets, radio broadcasts, and social media campaigns. These act like loose particles dusting the surface, entirely incapable of penetrating the rock below. During the 1990s civil wars, Serbian nationalist propaganda was highly effective because it leveraged these existing sociological master narratives, fears, and historical identities built over centuries. These myths are not constructed overnight. They are built through a slow, constant impregnation of societal attitudes spanning generations. Western forces frequently attempt to overwrite these generations of conditioning with campaigns promoting secular, liberal democratic values, typically operating on tight 5-year political cycles. To the local population, this messaging rarely registers as an appealing alternative story. It registers as transparent, alien cultural imperialism pushed by an occupying force. Tactical information operations will systematically fail whenever they attempt to quickly overwrite the deep, pre-existing sociological propaganda of a target population. This Venn diagram illustrates the relationship between the mind and the battlefield. The cognitive domain as an independent space is an illusion. The physical and cognitive domains are inextricably linked. Words possess zero persuasive power in a conflict zone unless backed by credible physical sanctions. Strategic narratives do have a proven utility, unifying a vast internal coalition, aligning bureaucratic agencies, and preventing mission creep within one's own ranks. But coordinating an allied staff is entirely different from converting a hostile foreign population. You cannot narrate your way out of a firefight. Strategic narratives are essential organizational tools for maintaining internal coherence. They are not magical weapons capable of mass behavioral change. The flaw of information age military thinking is relying on communication to solve tactical, kinetic problems. Military strategists must permanently abandon the search for a silver bullet counter-narrative. The complex human reality of a conflict zone is far too resilient to be solved by snappy slogans. Sociological propaganda takes generations to shift. That makes it structurally immune to the short timelines, limited budgets, and rapid political patience of modern expeditionary campaigns. Advanced media operations, specialized broadcasting platforms, and targeted leaflet drops cannot rescue a failing kinetic strategy. In the theater of war, physical actions dictate the narrative. The narrative can never dictate the actions.